Aliens revive human from Arctic chamber and instantly regret it the first time humanity truly understood how small they appeared in the galaxy. It was during the Grand Summit on Tarlon Prime. The hall was enormous, stretching hundreds of meters with transparent walls that revealed a swirling nebula beyond. Delegates from 100 worlds filled the space, their forms alien, their voices alien, and their eyes filled with centuries of experience that humans had yet to earn. Humans were few in number, just 6 representatives led by Admiral Clark, a man whose calm demeanor hid the fire of ambition and pride burning deep within him. The rest of the galactic community had already begun to whisper the words that would sting the Earth delegation for years. Primitive, fragile, naive. As they walked down the central aisle, the laughter began. It was quiet at first, a few snickers from reptilian delegates with scales glinting in the light. Then it grew louder, voices layering over each other like a storm. Tentacles waved dismissively, claws tapped on crystalline surfaces, and hums of amusement echoed through the hall. One of the aliens, tall and serpentine with golden eyes, spoke directly in the galactic common tongue, his tone dripping with condescension. "Ah, Earthlings," he said, "you have traveled so far only to present yourselves as toys in our court. Tell me, what can you offer the galaxy besides amusement?" Clark's jaw tightened, but he did not respond immediately. Instead, he took a slow step forward, eyes scanning the room, noting the subtle technological displays, the way delegates' voices could manipulate sound waves for emphasis, and the intricate devices that hovered around their desks. Every laugh, every sneer was a lesson waiting to be learned. It was not pride that drove humans in that moment, it was observation. Every motion, every gesture, every gadget was catalogued in the minds of the 6 representatives. While the aliens believed humanity to be weak and laughable, humans were quietly learning, noting, storing, and planning. The summit's proceedings continued, and humans were relegated to the lowest tier of discussion. Every suggestion they made, no matter how intelligent or practical, was met with ridicule. One young delegate, a scientist named Alara, proposed a system of resource sharing between distant colonies that could save thousands of lives. The response was a ripple of laughter, and someone even flicked a holographic image of Earth's modest technology into the air as a joke. But Alara did not retreat. She simply nodded, noting which technologies were scorned, which strategies were ignored, and how the aliens reacted to every idea. Each dismissal was a spark in her mind, a challenge, a puzzle, a problem that humans would someday solve. Outside the summit, the galaxy was in full motion. Trade ships traveled light years in days, and military fleets patrolled borders with an efficiency humans had only dreamed of. Humans were observers in a world that moved faster, smarter, and with far greater power. Every insult, every scoff from the aliens only reinforced one undeniable truth. Humans had yet to show their strength, and no one would take them seriously until they did. After the formal meetings, the Earth delegates gathered in their small quarters aboard the orbital station above Tarlon Prime. The room was simple, metallic, and functional, with only the essentials. No alien grandeur here. Clark stood by the window, looking down at the sprawling city below. Ships glided like silver fish across the neon-lit oceans of the planet. "They think we are a joke," he said quietly. "They think we are weak." Alara, seated at a small table covered with notes and schematics, looked up. "They are wrong," she replied. "We are just different, and different is dangerous when it is underestimated." Clark smiled faintly, a rare expression. "We will make them regret underestimating us. But not with anger, with strategy, with knowledge, with patience. They will laugh at us until the day they cannot." The humans began to work in silence, reviewing data, cross-referencing alien technology, and making careful plans. They had no vast fleets, no centuries of galactic strategy, but what they had was perhaps more dangerous. Ingenuity, determination, and the ability to see solutions where others saw only limits. Days passed, and the summit continued. Delegates from distant worlds flaunted power, technology, and wealth, trying to impress and intimidate. Each display was an opportunity for humans to learn. The way an alien fleet deployed drones, the method another species used to manipulate gravity for transportation, the diplomatic techniques of the most cunning species, all were stored in human minds like seeds waiting for the right season to grow. It was during one of these demonstrations that a young human named Marcus quietly showed what humans could do without a fleet or weapon. A small alien delegate had attempted a verbal challenge, a form of debate used to display intelligence. The alien posed a puzzle designed to humiliate Earth's representative. Marcus, only 23, listened carefully, understood the principle, and provided a solution that was elegant, precise, and unexpected. The room fell silent. For the first time, laughter was replaced with surprise. Clark's eyes met Marcus's, pride shining silently. It was a small victory, a tiny crack in the armor of the galaxy's arrogance, but it was enough to remind humanity of what they were capable of when underestimated. Even outside the summit, humans observed the galaxy's patterns. They watched conflicts erupt and resolve, studied trade networks, and mapped alliances. While the galaxy slept, humans worked. They built prototypes, developed theories, and simulated strategies. Every failure they witnessed among the aliens became a lesson. Every success became a target for improvement. One night, as the station orbited above Tarlon Prime, Alara stood alone on the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly, glittering with possibilities, and the nebula's colors reflected off her face. She whispered to herself, "They may laugh at us now, but one day they will see what humanity can do. One day they will fear our name." That quiet resolve spread among the humans like wildfire. What the galaxy perceived as weakness was, in truth, discipline and patience. Every insult became a motivator. Every joke became a lesson. And every glance of disdain was a challenge waiting to be answered. As the summit drew to a close, the humans prepared to leave. The aliens waved, some with mockery, some with polite indifference. But Clark knew that the work had just begun. Humanity's path to greatness was not through immediate confrontation. It was through observation, innovation, and the slow, deliberate transformation from the laughed-at species to a force no one could ignore. Even as Earth's delegation departed, whispers spread among the more attentive aliens. "The humans are strange. They do not react like others." That was the beginning of fear, a slow, creeping realization that humans were not weak, only hidden. Back on Earth, the news of the summit's ridicule made headlines. People were angry, embarrassed, and ashamed. But Clark, Alara, and the others used that emotion differently. It became fuel. Laboratories buzzed with activity, training facilities saw longer hours, and even the youngest minds on Earth began dreaming bigger. By the time the humans returned to the stars for the next summit, they would be ready. Not ready to attack, not ready to dominate, but ready to prove that laughter at humanity's expense was a mistake no civilization could afford to make twice. For now, the galaxy laughed. And for now, humanity listened, learned, and waited. Because the day when laughter would turn into fear was coming. And when it did, no alien would ever underestimate humans again. After returning from Tarlon Prime, humanity entered a period of quiet preparation. The ridicule at the Grand Summit had left a mark, but it had also ignited a fire that could not be extinguished. Every human involved, from scientists to military strategists, from engineers to explorers, understood that the galaxy was watching and every mistake they made would be remembered. Every victory would have to be earned and every lesson from the aliens studied carefully. Earth itself seemed to hum with renewed energy. Cities expanded their research hubs and orbital stations buzzed with human activity. Humans were working faster, thinking harder, and pushing boundaries that had once seemed impossible. New propulsion systems were tested in secret, capable of speeds that could rival alien transports. Artificial intelligence, once restricted to simulations, began assisting humans in strategy development, studying alien tactics from the summit and predicting possible outcomes of conflicts that humanity had yet to face. Alara led a team focused on understanding alien technology at its most basic level. While the galaxy relied on centuries of rigid knowledge, humans approached the same information with fresh eyes. They observed, hypothesized, experimented, and improved. A simple energy shield, dismissed by the aliens as rudimentary, was modified by humans to function in unpredictable ways. What seemed weak in alien eyes became adaptable, resilient, and clever in human hands. Meanwhile, Marcus worked with a small strike team, studying alien military strategy. They recreated alien battle simulations in virtual space, testing weaknesses, flaws, and blind spots. Every movement, every pattern, every predictable tactic became a tool for humans to exploit. What the galaxy considered superiority, advanced technology, immense fleets, and centuries of tradition, was now something humans could counter through speed, innovation, and unconventional thinking. Then came the first real test, a minor skirmish on the edge of the Tyran trade route. A human cargo vessel, carrying essential supplies to a distant colony, was intercepted by a small alien patrol. The aliens assumed the humans would surrender or retreat. They underestimated the crew's resolve, their ability to improvise, and their knowledge of space hazards. As the patrol approached, the humans activated decoy drones that emitted false signals, drawing the aliens into asteroid fields. While the aliens attempted to maneuver their ships with brute force, humans used calculated bursts of energy to redirect the drones, creating illusions of multiple fleets. The aliens were confused, their advanced sensors failing to distinguish real threats from carefully placed simulations. On board the cargo vessel, Captain Harris coordinated the maneuver. His voice was calm, precise, each command measured for maximum efficiency. The aliens were expecting panic, but they received coordination. Every human move was deliberate, every action turning apparent weakness into tactical advantage. Within hours, the aliens, frustrated and outmaneuvered, withdrew without inflicting damage. The victory was small, almost invisible on the scale of the galaxy, but for humans it was monumental. For the first time, they realized that intelligence, creativity, and determination could match, and even surpass, raw power. It was proof that the galaxy's laughter was based on false assumptions. As news of the skirmish spread, whispers began to circulate in alien networks. The humans had survived, outsmarted, and escaped an encounter that should have ended in disaster. Some dismissed it as beginner's luck, but others, more cautious and experienced, began to reconsider. Perhaps the Earthlings were not as weak as they appeared. Back on Earth, the success inspired even greater efforts. Engineers developed new propulsion systems that allowed ships to make unpredictable maneuvers in combat. Scientists experimented with adaptive shielding that could respond in real time to different types of energy attacks. Military strategists studied alien battle formations, not to mimic them, but to invent new approaches that no one would expect. Even the youngest members of humanity contributed. Teenagers trained in simulations, testing strategies, and solving problems with a creativity that startled the older generation. No alien had ever faced such a combination of audacity and intelligence. Human strength was growing, but it was not brute force. It was something far more dangerous, ingenuity. The next step came in diplomacy. Humans began reaching out to smaller civilizations, offering trade agreements and defense pacts. While larger alien empires scoffed, the smaller worlds, tired of being dominated, saw potential allies in humans. Each alliance provided new resources, intelligence, and strategic advantages. The galaxy was starting to notice that Earth was not only learning, but also networking, gathering influence in ways that the aliens had not predicted. During one mission, Alara and her team infiltrated a derelict alien research station. While the station appeared abandoned, it contained advanced prototypes of energy weapons, navigation systems, and communication arrays. Humans carefully documented every mechanism, understanding how each worked and how it could be adapted to human technology. What the aliens considered lost or irrelevant became a foundation for human innovation. Marcus coordinated a separate operation to study alien fleet movement in real time. Using small, fast reconnaissance ships, humans observed alien patrol patterns, timing, and behavior. They recorded weaknesses and tendencies, noting how pride and overconfidence often led aliens into predictable mistakes. The information was cataloged and shared with every human fleet officer. It was intelligence, not firepower, that would give humanity the edge. Months passed, and humans began testing combined strategies in simulations and small-scale encounters. Drones, AI, and human crews worked together seamlessly, learning from mistakes and improving tactics with every iteration. Humans were becoming faster, smarter, and more unpredictable than the galaxy had ever seen. The alien powers still laughed publicly, but privately, unease began to grow. Rumors of Earth's innovations spread across trade routes and hidden networks. While no human fleet yet rivaled the largest alien armadas, humans had begun mastering tactics that even seasoned alien commanders struggled to counter. The potential was becoming undeniable. One evening, as the sun set over the Pacific Research Station, Clark addressed a group of young strategists. "We are still small," he said, "but we are learning faster than anyone else. They laughed at our weakness. That was their mistake. But now every lesson we take, every tactic we develop makes us stronger. One day they will not be able to ignore us." Alara nodded beside him. "And when that day comes, it will not be luck or chance. It will be us, our work, our choices, our ingenuity. That is what they will fear." Even in these quiet, calculated moments, humanity's reputation was growing, not through displays of power, but through subtle victories and the promise of what was to come. Every minor success, every improvement, every alliance formed was another step toward the inevitable: recognition, respect, and eventually dominance. As human fleets expanded cautiously into uncharted systems, they encountered other civilizations. Some were open and cooperative, eager to trade knowledge and resources. Others were aggressive, dismissive, or outright hostile. But every encounter reinforced the same lesson: underestimating humans was the greatest error an alien could make. The combination of intelligence, creativity, and resilience was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. The first true challenge to humanity's growing reputation came when a rogue alien fleet attempted to blockade a human colony on the edge of the Oran Belt. The aliens believed the colony to be weak and poorly defended. The humans responded not with a massive fleet, but with strategy. Decoy ships, cloaking maneuvers, and carefully timed strikes allowed the colony to survive unscathed. When the aliens withdrew, they were bewildered. What had seemed like an easy conquest had been transformed into a lesson in unpredictability and skill. Back on Earth, celebrations were quiet but heartfelt. The victory was not only military but symbolic. Humans were beginning to understand that strength was not just about weapons or numbers. It was about the ability to adapt, to learn, and to turn disadvantages into advantages. In labs and classrooms, in fleet command centers and trading hubs, the message was clear. Humanity was no longer a species to be mocked. Every human, from the youngest cadet to the most seasoned officer, carried the same determination. They would continue to learn, improve, and rise. Every setback would be studied, every victory expanded upon. As the stars stretched endlessly beyond Earth's orbit, humans looked outward not with fear, but with ambition. They were small in number, yes, and still inexperienced compared to the ancient alien civilizations. But that inexperience was a weapon. It allowed humans to see possibilities where others saw limits. It allowed them to innovate, to improvise, and to survive situations that the galaxy considered impossible. By the end of the second year after the Grand Summit, humans had achieved something remarkable. They had proven on a small but undeniable scale that the laughter of the galaxy was misplaced. They had survived skirmishes, outsmarted patrols, and formed alliances that strengthened their position. Most importantly, they had begun to believe in themselves. And belief, they realized, was the most dangerous force of all. The galaxy had laughed at humanity. They had dismissed Earth as a curiosity, a weak world with little to offer. But humans had begun to respond, quietly, methodically, and effectively. Their journey was only beginning, and the stage was being set for a transformation that no alien could have anticipated. The echoes of laughter were fading. A new sound was emerging, the quiet hum of a species learning, adapting, and preparing to rise. One day, the galaxy would remember this moment. Not because humans had announced their arrival with fanfare, but because they had proven, through ingenuity, courage, and relentless effort, that the species they had laughed at was capable of so much more than anyone had ever imagined. And that day was coming closer with every passing star, every silent victory, and every human mind working toward one goal: to ensure that when the galaxy finally noticed, it would do so with awe and fear. By the time the third year after the Grand Summit arrived, humanity had changed in ways the galaxy could hardly notice yet. While the alien empires continued to view Earth as a curiosity, humans had quietly expanded their reach, tested their technology, and honed their strategies. Every challenge they faced became a lesson, every encounter a stepping stone toward a future that no alien could foresee. The first major breakthrough came from Earth's new research station orbiting the planet Lorath. It was designed to study alien propulsion systems, but the scientists, led by Alara, were not content to simply replicate what the galaxy already knew. They wanted to improve it. Using principles they observed at the summit and in past skirmishes, humans began building engines that were smaller, faster, and far more flexible than anything they had before. A single human vessel could now outmaneuver alien ships twice its size, turning tight asteroid fields into traps and escape corridors into offensive opportunities. Marcus, meanwhile, oversaw tactical simulations in the fleet's new command center. Virtual reality allowed human officers to test thousands of battle scenarios in hours. Alien formations, previously thought unbeatable, were now predictable. The humans did not seek to destroy, they sought to outthink. They discovered that alien pride often led to rigid strategies, patterns that could be anticipated and manipulated. By studying these tendencies, humans turned underestimation into their greatest weapon. It was during one of these simulations that a small, unexpected opportunity appeared. A minor alien trading post, located on a barren planet, had been abandoned by its main fleet due to resource shortages. The humans did not attack. They sent a small reconnaissance team. Using stealth technology and adaptive drones, they mapped the post systems, collected resources, and tested the limits of their new engines. The mission was a success, but more importantly, it proved that humans could achieve far more than brute force would allow. Ingenuity, not aggression, was now humanity's signature. The success inspired more daring projects. Scientists developed cloaking devices for reconnaissance vessels, allowing them to slip past alien patrols undetected. Communication systems were enhanced to allow instantaneous coordination across light years. Humans began combining these technologies with their natural creativity. They were not copying the galaxy, they were creating something new. Humans also realized that diplomacy could be as powerful as technology. Clark worked tirelessly to establish alliances with smaller civilizations that had long lived in the shadows of the larger empires. These civilizations had knowledge, resources, and intelligence that could amplify human capability. In exchange for protection, trade, and cooperation, they willingly shared information that humans could adapt and improve. Each alliance was a silent victory, each handshake a subtle expansion of influence. It was during this time that the first true test of humanity's growing power arrived. A neighboring alien species, known for its aggressive raids, attacked a human outpost on the edge of the Vexor Belt. The aliens expected an easy victory, assuming that humans were still inexperienced and poorly organized. They were wrong. The outpost's defenses were modest, but humans had prepared for unpredictability. Marcus directed the operations from orbit, coordinating ships, drones, and automated defenses. Humans lured the attackers into a narrow canyon, where gravity distortions and hidden mines created chaos among the invaders. Alien ships collided, misfired, and became trapped in their own momentum. The humans did not need to destroy them all, just enough to send a message. Within hours, the attackers withdrew, bewildered and defeated. Back on Earth, the event was celebrated quietly but purposefully. It was more than a victory, it was proof that humanity's methods worked. Traditional alien tactics were no match for the combination of adaptability, intelligence, and creative strategy. The humans had not overpowered the aliens, they had outthought them. Alara, reviewing data from the battle, noticed patterns she had not expected. The aliens had underestimated human problem-solving at every stage, from strategy to implementation. It was proof that humans' greatest strength was their mind, not their machines. "We don't just react," she said to Clark. "We anticipate, we adapt, and we create solutions before the problem even exists." Clark nodded. "That is why they will fear us, not because we are loud or aggressive, but because we cannot be predicted." As the months passed, humanity's reputation began to spread quietly across the galaxy. Smaller civilizations spoke in hushed tones about Earth's clever strategies and surprising victories. Rumors circulated of humans navigating asteroid fields with ease, infiltrating abandoned stations, and outsmarting alien patrols. Even some of the larger empires began to take notice, although they still publicly dismissed Earth as a minor player. Humans continued to push boundaries. Training programs for young officers emphasized creativity and quick thinking over rote obedience. Scientists experimented with new energy sources, turning alien concepts into revolutionary technology. Engineers built ships that could change formation mid-flight, adapt to multiple threats simultaneously, and operate autonomously when necessary. Every advancement was small, measured, and deliberate, but cumulatively, humanity's capabilities were growing faster than anyone had anticipated. The real turning point came when humans decided to test their limits in diplomacy and espionage. Small teams were sent to negotiate with rival alien factions, not with weapons, but with information, assistance, and subtle manipulation. These missions were delicate, requiring careful study of alien psychology, communication patterns, and political motives. Every success reinforced the truth. Humans could influence the galaxy not by force alone, but by intelligence. One memorable mission involved a dying alien world whose leaders had refused aid from anyone else. Humans offered help, not for loyalty, but for data. The alien leaders, desperate, allowed humans access to their archives. Humans absorbed centuries of strategy, technology, and political insight. What might have been arrogance in another species was interpreted as respect for human skill. By the time the humans left, the aliens were left with both relief and admiration. Back at the fleet headquarters, Clark watched simulations of possible encounters with other civilizations. He marveled at how quickly humans could adapt to unexpected situations. Where an alien commander might hesitate, humans acted decisively. Where they might follow established doctrine, humans improvised. Where others saw limitations, humans saw opportunity. It was becoming clear that Earth's position in the galaxy was no longer insignificant. Even ordinary humans, far from the front lines, contributed to the rising reputation. Scientists, engineers, pilots, and students all shared a collective vision. Every innovation, every discovery, and every idea, no matter how small, strengthened humanity's position. No alien civilization had ever seen such rapid adaptation combined with unity of purpose. By the end of the third year, humans had begun to lay the groundwork for something larger. Outposts were fortified, fleets were better equipped, and alliances with smaller civilizations solidified. The galaxy still laughed publicly, still assumed that Earth was weak, still believed that humans were merely learning. But in secret, fear began to grow in certain quarters. Humans were learning too fast, improving too quickly, and achieving victories that even experienced alien fleets could not anticipate. Clark gathered his senior officers in the command center. Holographic displays showed the galaxy, its empires, and the positions of fleets and resources. "They still think we are weak," he said, "but every day we prove them wrong, and every day we become more than what they ever imagined." One day the galaxy will remember the name of Earth, not as a curiosity, not as a joke, but as a power they cannot ignore. Ilara added, "We are not just preparing for conflict. We are preparing to be seen. We are showing what humanity can do when underestimated." Marcus leaned back, a thoughtful smile on his face. "And when the day comes that they notice, it will be too late to stop us. Every laugh, every underestimation, every dismissal has brought us closer to that moment." Humans were no longer simply reacting to the galaxy. They were shaping it. Each small victory, each technological advancement, and each clever maneuver was a step toward dominance, not through raw force alone, but through ingenuity, strategy, and unity. The galaxy might still laugh, but humanity's rise was inevitable. In secret labs, remote colonies, and aboard stealth ships, humans continued to refine their methods. Every pattern, every weakness, every overlooked possibility was analyzed. Humans had become a species that could anticipate the unpredictable, adapt to the impossible, and innovate in ways that no alien civilization could fully understand. The galaxy's laughter was fading, replaced by whispers of curiosity, concern, and even fear. Earth was no longer just a distant planet to be ignored. Humans were proving, quietly but unmistakably, that they were learning, growing, and preparing for a future where they could no longer be dismissed. And as the stars stretched endlessly around them, humans gazed outward, not with fear or hesitation, but with ambition and confidence. The galaxy had underestimated them for too long. The time for laughter was ending. The time for humanity to rise was coming, and no force in the galaxy could stop it. The day humanity would finally show the galaxy its true power began quietly, almost unnoticed. On the edge of the Release sector, a small alien coalition, known for their arrogance and overconfidence, moved to assert dominance over a newly established human colony. They believed Earth was still inexperienced, that the humans could be bullied, contained, and dismissed as a minor nuisance. They were wrong. Clark stood on the bridge of the flagship Intrepid, his eyes scanning the viewscreen at the approaching fleet. Hundreds of alien ships moved in formation, confident in their superiority. Every detail, from weapon placements to flight patterns, had been observed and catalogued by human reconnaissance teams. What the aliens thought was a weakness, humans' smaller numbers, would become their downfall. Marcus, overseeing tactical deployment, spoke calmly. They are confident, that is their mistake. They assume we will fight as they do, but we will not. We will fight as humans fight, smart, flexible, unpredictable. Alara, monitoring energy and sensor readings, added, "We've prepared for this. Every fleet movement, every drone deployment, every maneuver has been simulated thousands of times. We know how they think, and we know how to outthink them." The first engagement began as the alien fleet entered the system. Their weapons fired in synchronized volleys designed to overwhelm any defenders. Human ships scattered, not in panic, but as part of a calculated strategy. Small, fast vessels darted between asteroid fields, creating false signatures that made the fleet appear larger than it was. Decoy drones emitted holographic signals, projecting phantom ships and confusing alien targeting systems. From orbit, Clark watched as the aliens tried to adapt. Their sensors were advanced, but humans had anticipated their responses. The moment the aliens concentrated fire on decoys, real ships attacked from blind spots. Energy pulses disrupted their navigation, causing collisions between ships and forcing the fleet into chaotic patterns. It was not brute force. It was precision, timing, and creativity. On the ground, human forces coordinated strikes against orbital installations. They used stealth drones to disable communications, sabotaged weapon systems remotely, and turned every alien advantage into a trap. What the aliens had thought would be a simple victory was becoming a lesson in human ingenuity. The battle intensified. One alien cruiser, larger and more heavily armed than anything humans had faced before, advanced toward the colony. It fired with deadly accuracy, but human engineers had developed adaptive shields capable of changing energy absorption rates in real time. The cruiser's attacks were largely neutralized, and the humans countered with precision strikes against vulnerable points. Amid the chaos, Marcus led a daring maneuver. Using a small squad of elite vessels, he slipped behind the alien formation and struck at the supply and repair ships. Without these, the alien fleet's efficiency began to falter. The once confident formation grew disorganized, each ship acting independently and inefficiently. The humans were exploiting patterns, weaknesses, and overconfidence that centuries of alien experience had overlooked. Alara coordinated the energy distribution across the fleet. Every shield, every weapon system, every drone was optimized in real time. The humans were not relying on raw numbers. They were using intelligence, speed, and adaptability to turn the battle in their favor. Even when faced with superior firepower, human strategy kept them ahead, forcing aliens into reactive and desperate actions. In the middle of the battle, a young pilot, barely 20, executed a maneuver that had never been tested outside simulations. She weaved her ship between two massive cruisers, creating a disruption in the alien targeting array that allowed human vessels to strike without retaliation. Her actions inspired the fleet, showing that humans could take risks, improvise, and succeed where no alien would dare. As hours passed, the aliens realized they were outmatched, not by weapons but by strategy. Every attack they launched was countered, every advantage neutralized. The humans adapted faster, improvised better, and anticipated their moves with an accuracy that even the most experienced alien commanders had not expected. Clark watched as the alien fleet began to withdraw. Their pride had been shattered. They had entered expecting an easy victory, and they were leaving humiliated. The humans had not only defended their colony, they had demonstrated mastery over tactics, technology, and strategy that no alien fleet could ignore. Alara reviewed the aftermath data. "We did not just win," she said. "We changed the way they see us. They underestimated our ability to adapt, and now they know that their assumptions are dangerous. That is a victory bigger than this battle." Marcus nodded. They will talk about this for generations. Our name will start to carry weight. Earth will no longer be laughed at. Even beyond the immediate battlefield, humanity's triumph had ripple effects. Smaller civilizations observing the battle saw that humans could be allies worth trusting. They recognized intelligence, ingenuity, and resilience, qualities that many aliens valued less than raw power, but that in human hands became unstoppable. Offers of trade, collaboration, and alliance began to increase. Humans were becoming central to galactic networks, not through intimidation but through skill and achievement. Back on Earth, celebrations were subdued but meaningful. The victory was not about glory, it was about proof. Humans had demonstrated that being underestimated could be turned into the ultimate advantage. They had survived, adapted, and succeeded against forces that were supposed to overwhelm them. The galaxy's perception of humanity was beginning to shift, quietly but irrevocably. Clark addressed the fleet in a holographic message. "This is only the beginning. They still see us as small, weak, and inexperienced. But we have shown them that intelligence, creativity, and courage are more powerful than raw numbers. The galaxy is watching, and from this day forward they will measure us with respect, not mockery." Alara spoke at the same time from the research hub. "We have turned weakness into strength, observation into advantage, and laughter into motivation. Humanity will continue to learn, adapt, and grow. We are not only surviving, we are becoming a force the galaxy cannot ignore." Even the youngest humans understood the significance. Students, trainees, and junior officers across Earth and its colonies followed the news of the battle. The example set by their leaders, by pilots, scientists, and strategists, inspired a generation that would continue to innovate, challenge, and redefine what humans were capable of achieving. Meanwhile, alien empires began reconsidering their strategies. The coalition that had attacked the Rillies sector was forced to rebuild, rethink, and recalibrate. They had entered the battle with confidence, expecting an easy victory, and left with the unsettling realization that humans were not only capable but dangerous in ways that were difficult to predict. For the first time, the galaxy's largest powers began to fear underestimating Earth. Humans, however, did not become complacent. Clark, Alara, and Marcus continued to push boundaries, refining strategy, enhancing technology, and expanding their reach. The battle was a victory, yes, but it was also a lesson. No alien could ever assume humanity would fight as expected. Adaptability, intelligence, and ingenuity were human weapons, and they would only grow stronger. Weeks later, the humans reviewed the aftermath of the battle. They mapped patterns, studied alien errors, and improved every system used in the engagement. Lessons from the fight were incorporated into training programs, ship designs, and tactical simulations. Humans were not resting on their victory. They were building upon it, preparing for a galaxy that would soon have to reckon with their rising power. The ripple effects were evident in diplomacy as well. Smaller civilizations sought contact, recognizing that alliance with humans offered not just protection, but opportunity. The galaxy began to notice Earth not as a curiosity, but as a growing center of influence. Trade agreements, intelligence sharing, and collaborative projects began to increase, all under human leadership. As night fell over Earth, Clark stood on the observation deck of the fleet headquarters, looking at the stars that stretched endlessly beyond. "They still laugh," he said softly, "but every day they learn that laughter is dangerous. Every day humanity proves that underestimation is the galaxy's gravest mistake." Alara joined him, her eyes reflecting the lights of distant systems. "And soon," she said, "they will no longer be able to ignore us. The galaxy will respect what humans have become, and they will fear what we can do next." Marcus, standing nearby, smiled. "They laughed at us once, they laughed at us twice. Soon they will only whisper our name in caution, because by then we will be unstoppable." The battle at Rillies sector became a turning point, not because humans had destroyed the enemy fleet entirely, but because they had shown what humans were capable of when underestimated. Intelligence, strategy, adaptability, and unity had become the hallmarks of humanity's rise. The galaxy had laughed, the galaxy had mocked. But laughter had given humans their greatest advantage, the opportunity to learn, adapt, and prove that underestimation was the deadliest mistake any civilization could make. Humanity was no longer just surviving in the stars. They were preparing to dominate, not through brute force, but through skill, ingenuity, and unbreakable resolve. The day of true recognition, when the galaxy would understand Earth's strength, was approaching. And when it arrived, no one would ever again doubt the potential of humanity. For now, humans continued to work, train, and innovate. Every ship, every alliance, every new strategy was a step toward the inevitable. They had faced the galaxy's scorn and survived. They had proven their intelligence on the battlefield. And they would continue to rise, transforming laughter into fear, doubt into respect, and underestimation into their greatest weapon. The galaxy had yet to see the full power of humanity. That day was coming, and when it did, it would mark the beginning of an era that no alien civilization would ever forget. What had begun as ridicule, mockery, and casual dismissal had transformed into cautious respect, whispers of concern, and in some corners, outright fear. Humanity had grown quietly, steadily, and strategically, until the time came when the rest of the galaxy could no longer ignore them. It began with the emergence of the Human Coalition, a network of fleets, colonies, and allied civilizations. Clark, Alara, Marcus, and other leaders had spent years preparing for this moment. Every system, every fleet, every alliance had been positioned with careful precision. Humans had not sought war, they had sought readiness. But when the galaxy underestimated them for the last time, that readiness would become unstoppable. A coalition of the largest alien empires, still confident in their superiority, decided to challenge humanity openly. They believed the humans could be contained or crushed. A massive fleet, thousands of ships strong, moved toward the human-controlled sectors in the Orion expanse. Their mission was clear: to eliminate what they called a growing nuisance. Clark stood on the bridge of the flagship Intrepid, looking at the fleet approaching on the viewscreen. Hundreds of alien ships blotted out the stars, their formations precise, their weapons deadly. But humans were ready. Not just ready, they were prepared to demonstrate that intelligence, creativity, and courage could outweigh even overwhelming numbers. Marcus spoke, his tone calm but firm. They think numbers will win, they think experience will win, but they do not understand us. They do not know what humans can do when they refuse to be underestimated. Alara adjusted her instruments, monitoring energy distributions and fleet positions. Every system, every ship, every maneuver is ready. Every alliance is in position. We will not be overwhelmed because we have prepared for every scenario. They cannot predict us, and that is their greatest weakness. The battle began without warning. Alien ships fired volleys of energy and missiles, but humans had devised new defensive systems far beyond anything the galaxy had expected. Adaptive shields responded instantly to attacks, drones intercepted incoming projectiles, and fleets maneuvered with fluid, unpredictable movements that confounded even the most disciplined alien commanders. From the start, humans fought differently. They did not form predictable lines, they did not rely solely on firepower, and they did not repeat mistakes made by other civilizations for centuries. Instead, they exploited every flaw, turned every expectation against the aliens, and adapted in real time. Small human squads slipped past massive cruisers, disabling critical systems, while larger vessels focused on controlling key points in space. On board the Intrepid, Clark directed the battle with calm precision. "Focus on their communications arrays," he said. "Disrupt coordination. Force them to react, not act." Marcus implemented the plan. Swarms of drones attacked the alien command ships, jamming signals and creating false targets. The alien fleet, large and confident, began to crumble under pressure. Their formations broke, their strategies failed, and their coordination faltered. Humanity's intelligence and adaptability had turned a hopeless confrontation into a controlled battlefield. Alara watched the energy readings. They underestimated human problem-solving. Every action they expected has already been countered. We have created a battlefield where their size is a weakness, not a strength. Meanwhile, allied civilizations joined the fight, inspired by humanity's planning and ingenuity. Their combined forces supported human strategies, striking at vulnerable points and amplifying the effect of human technology. What had begun as a human-led defense had become a coalition of species united by respect, trust, and recognition of Earth's leadership. One human pilot, barely 19, performed a daring maneuver, weaving between alien warships to deliver a precision strike on a massive energy generator. The explosion cascaded through the fleet, disabling dozens of ships in a single move. It was a moment of brilliance that encapsulated humanity's approach, daring, creative, and unpredictable. The battle raged for hours, and by the end, the alien coalition was forced into full retreat. Hundreds of ships disabled or destroyed, communication lines shattered, and morale broken, the supposedly invincible fleet withdrew, unable to comprehend the scale and precision of human strategy. Humanity had not just survived, they had dominated. Across the galaxy, observers took note. Civilizations that had once mocked Earth now spoke in hushed tones of awe. Humans were no longer underestimated. Humanity had proven that cleverness, adaptability, and coordination could surpass raw numbers and centuries of experience. The legend of Earth was growing, and fear had begun to replace laughter. On Earth, Clark addressed the world in a broadcast that reached every colony, every station, and every allied civilization. "The galaxy has learned a lesson," he said. "They laughed at us. They underestimated us. But humans have shown that determination, intelligence, and ingenuity cannot be ignored. Today, we are not only safe, we are strong. Today, humanity rises as a power the galaxy cannot ignore." Alara continued, "We did not achieve this with rage or aggression. We achieved this with preparation, adaptation, and clever thinking. Every victory, every strategy, every alliance brought us to this moment. And from here, humanity will continue to grow, innovate, and inspire. We are the species that was laughed at, and now we are the species that leads." Marcus added, "Let this be a warning to all who assume Earth is weak. We do not rely on sheer numbers because numbers alone are meaningless. We rely on mind, creativity, and courage. Underestimating humanity is the galaxy's gravest mistake, and it is a mistake that no one will make again." In the weeks that followed, humanity consolidated its influence. Former skeptics became allies. Trade networks expanded under human leadership. Colonies once isolated were connected through advanced technology and coordination. The galaxy had recognized a new power, one born not from arrogance, but from cleverness, persistence, and the ability to turn ridicule into motivation. Even alien civilizations that had survived the battle began to reconsider their own strategies. They realized that humanity did not fight like others. Humans were unpredictable, resilient, and capable of thinking far beyond conventional methods. The laughter that had once echoed across the stars was now replaced by whispers of caution. Back on Earth, celebrations were calm but significant. Humans reflected on the journey from mockery to respect, from underestimation to dominance. Scientists, strategists, engineers, and ordinary citizens recognized that every small step, every innovation, every risk taken had contributed to this moment. Humanity's rise was not sudden. It was deliberate, calculated, and unstoppable. Clark stood once more on the observation deck, looking at the stars that stretched beyond Earth's orbit. "They laughed at us once," he said softly. "They thought we were weak, but we learned, we adapted, we rose. And now the galaxy has no choice but to recognize humanity for what it truly is, a species that cannot be underestimated." Alara joined him. "And the journey is just beginning. We have proven our strength, but the galaxy is vast. We will continue to grow, to innovate, and to lead. Every challenge ahead is an opportunity, every obstacle a chance to demonstrate what humans can do." Marcus, standing nearby, smiled. "We turned laughter into respect. We turned ridicule into power. And now humanity is ready to shape the galaxy's future. This is only the beginning of what we can achieve." The galaxy, once amused by humanity, now watched with caution and curiosity. Humans had risen from a planet mocked for its apparent weakness to a force that demanded attention. Intelligence, creativity, and courage had triumphed over arrogance, experience, and numbers. The stars stretched endlessly, but humanity no longer feared them. Humans had proven that their greatest weapon was not firepower, speed, or technology alone. It was the human mind. Adaptability, ingenuity, and unyielding determination had turned the galaxy's laughter into fear, respect, and awe. In every colony, in every fleet, and on every planet, humans now carried a single truth, that no matter the odds, no matter the ridicule, no matter the empire that doubted them, humanity would rise. The species that was once laughed at had become the superpower of the galaxy. And as the universe watched, humanity prepared for the next chapter, not as underdogs, not as learners, but as a species whose influence and power would shape the course of the stars.